Okay, so we're talking about breaking free from gang-stalking phenomenon and changing your mindset. I have my friend Alexis here, who is a previous guest, and she is going to share. Let's see. Alexis. Alexis is having computer stuff today. She said she's going to get on her phone if she can't. Hi, Noodle Baker. We're trying to work through some technical difficulties.
Oh, there we go.
You got it?
I think we're on. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Todd Jacob. Hello. Noodle Baker. How are you doing, friend? I haven't been on here in a while. I came on yesterday very quickly with my friend Jen just to kind of answer some of the things that we've been seeing a lot on different people's TikTok and different people's YouTubes talking about sleep paralysis and witchcraft attacks. So I have trying to bring Alexis on so she can tell us about her techniques that she has used to be able to heal from doing from the things that she's been through from trauma, as we've all been through trauma, and she's been through some really crazy things. When she gave her testimony, I was so blown away. I mean, I want to say it was like 3 months ago or so, and she gave her testimony, and it was just incredible. How you doing,
Is it
Alexis?
working now? Oh,
Hi.
it's okay. Some tech problems though.
Absolutely. Do you want to
Yeah.
go over a little bit of your testimony? If we can get her Wi-Fi's being funny today. But she has a pretty awesome testimony. There you
There
go.
you go. Okay. Okay, I am trying the third device here. I think that this might be working now.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want to go ahead and share a little bit of your testimony for those who weren't here when you shared it last time?
Sure. Yeah. So I got affiliated with a group of people through an online connection. Got invited into this group here in Canada. And yeah, I don't know. Some people have alluded to the fact that it may have been a cult of some kind, and so there was a lot of coercion, a lot of labeling as a submissive type. It was like an underground, almost like a sex cult of sorts. I think that would be the easiest way to identify it as. And by the time I had decided that this was not for me, it was really difficult to get out. So these people knew a lot of intimate details about me that I had not even shared with some of these members. They knew where I lived. They knew my family members. They knew where I worked. And the cycle of harassment started. A lot of fear tactics about threatening family members if I were to leave, or threatening me if I were to inform any authorities what was going on. And yeah, it's a long story. I guess that's kind of like in a nutshell what ended up happening. And then it was the process of me trying to keep my mental state in check while trying to explain to people what was going on, which was really hard because by the time some of these things are happening, there's no coping mechanisms. Not a lot of people have the coping skills, right, to deal with this. And I didn't have any faith in anything outside of myself. So I started to rely on substances. And then your brain isn't necessarily as intact as it could be. And then your testimony is discredited, right? Because now you're using substances, so you might not be as sober as you could. And a lot of these predators and or people involved in the stalking phenomenon, they rely on a discredited testimony so that what you say sounds absolutely insane. Um, yeah,
And we
the
do see a
harassment and the
lot of this,
stalking. Sorry, go on.
right? We have seen a lot of this very similar stuff happen in Hollywood.
That's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've even after doing some research, just politics too. This has been going on for years with any kind of whistleblowing, right? Especially when it comes down to government or information about the way certain things are run. Um, it's your classic like gaslighting and manipulation techniques too, as well, right? To make a victim look crazy. So, um, yeah, yeah. So, anything from a lot of vehicular vandalism and strange things happening in my place of residence, moving multiple locations, moving cities, things not changing. And then, of course, like the slander that ends up following you as well, and the lies to try to tarnish your reputation. That's something that after coming over to Christ, I thought that would have stopped, and it didn't for a time. But what does stop it is believing in that which is greater than all of it, right? And really, really leaning into what God can do. So I think Jesus was the ultimate gang stalked, right? I mean, was he not slandered wherever he went?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, we don't know all of the intimate details, but I'm sure that there was a lot of setup behind the scenes. I mean, even right down to the witnesses trying to explain that he had died and rose again, right? Like all of the lies that surround even that story. So it's so interesting in trying to prevent people from speaking truth, what people go to. And these are old techniques that I don't think a lot of people have been able to speak out about. But funny enough, like with technology like this now, we can actually speak about it. And it wasn't until, like I'd said to Jamie, it wasn't until your channel that I'd read of a few stories that sounded similar to mine, but I hadn't actually heard testimonies until I started watching some of the people that you'd had come on, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's, I really I love being able to give a platform, because people just they don't believe you when you try to
yeah,
explain. I mean, they didn't believe me when I was going through it, you know what I mean? And like and now, even now when we have I mean, if you look on some of these videos, there are thousands of people like saying the same things. Like there has to be something to it. And now we see the things going on in Hollywood, and P Diddy's in prison. I mean,
yeah,
like there is like and this has been going on, like you said, this has been going on for ever. Like this has
yeah.
been going on since the beginning, and it's just like now we're able to speak about it. And there's a boldness that comes when you realize you're not the only one,
That's
right?
right.
And when you have Jesus to protect you, because I know when I came into recovery, I didn't talk for the first like 2 months. I didn't
Yeah, that's
speak
right. Yeah,
because before I came into recovery, where I was, anytime I spoke, they heard it. So I
yeah,
just stopped speaking,
correct.
for fear of getting in trouble for what I was saying, whether I was saying
That's right.
something or not saying something, right? So I just did not speak.
That's right.
And everybody thought I was like just mental health, but I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And so, being able to have your voice back and to say, I'm going to speak out about this because I know that he who is greater is in me, and I have, angel armies of protection and chariots of angels, no matter how many, you know, of them there are, we outnumber them
Correct.
and we are fighting from victory always. And knowing these truths is one way that I'm able to cope. No, I'm not saying I'm perfect. My very close friends will tell you, I will literally question them. I will be like, are you sure that I didn't know you from I will ask, because
I know.
sometimes I get especially if the I always say, if the spiritual realm is lit,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes the spiritual realm can get real, like, like there's something going on. I don't know what it is. I can feel it. And if I'm like with one of my friends, and they know, you know what I mean? That they just kind of have to like be gentle with me and understanding, the very few people that I do let into my inner circle,
Yeah.
I'll be like, are you sure that this wasn't, and I didn't, what was your maiden last name? Like, I literally said that to one of my best friends, like, but what was your maiden last name? Like, you know, and she's just like, Jamie.
Oh, I so understand. Yeah, I
Yeah.
so understand. I don't think a lot
Hmm.
of people, yeah, who haven't been through it, again, I'm just like you, right? Like, not a lot of people are, they don't know, um, they aren't privy to the entire story. Yeah, and so it's a very select few who I can trust to even ask those questions. So it's good that you have those people around you.
Hmm. For sure. So what were some
Yeah.
of the things that you did to help you to get out of that situation, and to help you cope when you were, even today?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that helped you to be able to really stay sane and function as a normal human being?
It's a good question. Lots. There was a lot. In the beginning, I think the biggest thing was having a few people, even just one. It started off with one who could validate my experience. And so I met a lady who had been working with a lot of women on the street, and a lot of women who had been sex trafficked, who had gone through exactly this phenomenon, right? So that was it. And then I met a counselor who helped me with a lot of scripture that I could use to kind of like replace some of the lies that I was believing, right? That I would never be able to get away, which is just not true. That I had been plucked from nothingness and trained to sing and dance like a chimp. Well, no, I had been um, plucked, like handpicked by God, right? And placed under his wing. So yeah, some scriptural references were really helpful. Where I was talking to you about how when we can renew our mind with scripture and kind of grab every thought captive, that's really helpful, right? So I hadn't realized that over the course of like 20 years, I had been starting to believe the lies that were being told to me. And so when you can take some of those lies and then renew your mind, which is exactly the basis behind the psychology technique of CBT. So that's cognitive behavioral therapy, where you catch the thought, you check the thought, and then you change the thought. Um, so I found that really helpful. Um, I was talking to you about, so from my story, I had a lot of trauma, PTSD. And so one technique that was really helpful was EMDR. And so that's eye movement desensitization reprocessing therapy. And I was able to bring Jesus into a retelling of my story visually. Um, and yeah, so there's like another branch of EMDR called ART, and that's called accelerated resolution therapy. And what that does is you can bring in a whole bunch of images all at the same time instead of doing one memory like bit by bit. EMDR can take a long time. You can be doing EMDR for many years, but ART, you can bring in a whole whack of memories all in one session, and then you reprocess safely. So there's like a brain technique here where you're doing bilateral stimulation. So your left and your eye is moving at different, it's kind of like this at different times. And then you're like repeating the memory in your brain with somebody safe. And you're able to dive back into those moments of fear. And that goes into like anything that you could remember from any of the gang stalking events, whether it was phrases, or locations or memories of these individuals. Um, so you can like literally rethink of those times when you were scared, and then you can bring Jesus in. So that was what was really helpful for me. Um, when the stalking was at its heaviest for me, I had no faith. So Jesus was there. I just didn't know of the power that he had, because I didn't know that he was even a real thing. So knowing that Jesus is there and that Jesus defeats all of these demonic entities, and that the demonic entities at the end of the day are what's controlling all of the people in the first place, right? Like this is all spiritual, you know.
Yeah.
I think like walking in faith, it's just been, you know, I'm not that I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like things ramp up once in a while. It's like, oh, here we go. But the tactics become more and more, I don't know, easily identifiable. I'm like, oh, there's that one again. Oh, yeah, there's you know, plan Z that they're using, and I don't know, right? Like I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
there it is. This is nothing new. I remember this from a few years back. They're trying that one again, and it's like brighting. I had the brighting happening. I don't know if that's happened to you with vehicles and headlights.
Oh, okay. Mine was more like license plates
Okay.
and and vehicles in general.
Yeah.
Less of the writings, but like vehicles in general. Like, how did this, you know, uh, Audi with Tennessee plates get in front of me again?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have vehicles coming and like parked in front of me, and then their headlights are on and they're turning them on, like on and off and
Mhm.
on and off and on and off. And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. I see this. And before, when I was really affected by this, not thinking that anybody would believe me, there's no desire to try to explain to people anymore. I know the truth. I know what I've been through. I have enough people now that believe me. You're one of them. I have a few people in counseling. I've met a few individuals who have come through this. And then I have a team of people around me who have seen individuals target others too, right? Who believe me. So there's enough people around me now that have believed my story that I no longer feel alone, right? Um, for a while, I don't know, it's been long enough that I don't feel a need to like record as much as I used to, but for a while I found that really helpful. I would write down the dates and the times. I had somebody tell me that I should record and try to get as much proof as I could, because it would be helpful in the end. But then, you know, there comes a point where it's like, how much effort and how much mental energy am I going to put into this, versus how
Mhm.
about like looking at the goodness of God? How about looking at who I
Right.
am, that I'm a new creation? How about looking at what Jesus has done? How about remembering that he pulled me out of all of these things and I'm still here, instead of focusing so much on the darkness? I mean, there's a time and a place for validation, absolutely. But to like
Absolutely.
swirl around in that, right? That
Mhm.
also can really keep people stuck, right?
So, it can keep you so stuck because I'll go through that, you know what I mean? Like I was saying when when there's stuff going on in the spiritual realm, sometimes I call it my prophetic swirl, you know? Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel this, I can feel this, something is going on. And
Yeah.
I just, I'll get stuck in the circle of, kind of like the doom and the trauma of it. Um instead of thinking like, wow, I survived that. Like I
That's right.
survived that. I'm still here, I'm still living, I never stopped functioning. You know what I'm saying? Like it's wild. And being I recently started doing some outreach and working with an organization that helps women come out of trafficking as well. And I'm telling you, I talked to the lady, the head of the organization, and she started talking to me about people who were telling her about microwave waves and like all of these things, V2K and
Yep.
all of this. And she's like, yeah, I absolutely believe it. And I was just like, whoa, like this is a whole,
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? Like someone who is like established and never been through it, but that totally has seen it, has heard the testimonies, believes the ladies, you know what
That's
I
right.
mean? And that
That's
was
right.
just like, wow, that is, and she's, incredible, powerful intercessor and prayer warrior. And it's just, it's incredible that like, this is like so widespread, you know what I mean? That you would
Correct.
randomly like meet people who have been through this, and that it's like, man, this whole time, for me, 10 years later, like, I'm still like, huh, I told you.
I know. I
I
know. I
told
don't think
you.
that will ever get old for me. Like just hearing and being valid. I don't think that will ever get old being validated because it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Mhm.
times that you were told that it couldn't be or that what you were going through wasn't true.
Mhm.
I know
Yep.
I went into the back. There's a ministry in Canada here too that works with women who are being prostituted and exploited. And on the back prayer wall was prayer to be free from gang stalking. And I was like, wow, I've never seen that term on the back of the prayer wall. Like it's a thing. It's a thing. And they target really vulnerable people, but also people that I think are God's chosen,
For sure.
you know?
Sure.
Like there's something to that. It makes me wonder, and this might get a little bit conspiratorial, it makes me wonder about bloodlines as well. Jamie, so
Oh, yes.
to talk about spiritual warfare here, I'm running oh man.
Oh, she got stuck again. Well, let's see. Who did we have on here? Steven was on here. Angels are real. I'm alone all the time and I notice the things I think about. I will get targeted ads. I think that that's like everybody in the world right now with these targeted ads. Phones and laptops are brain to computer interfaces and is being done to everyone. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, Noodle Baker technology error. We've been dealing with this. We've been trying to get on since 8:30 and we've only been on for 20 minutes. So yeah. Jesus, don't look at only the 5 loaves and 2 fish and 5,000 people to feed, but refocus on Jesus and his power. Absolutely, 100%. Definitely. If you spend a lot of time alone, you will soon realize the same thing. Yeah. And definitely being, around people who understand, and who can be kind to you in the things that you're going through. And understanding, like we were also talking earlier about powerlessness and oh, what's happened?